Play that funky music, white boy.
Is that
Play
better?
that funky. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. All right. Jeez. Starting 15 minutes late because of me, but that's okay.
I mean, technically, we're 15 minutes early, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, I guess that's true. I guess that's true. All right.
Yeah.
You
I
ready to
almost
go?
did the intro without you, and then just you would have never known until you listen back.
Oh, that would have been funny. I would have been probably mad about it, actually. I'm like, dang, started without me? Salty. Hello, and welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB. I got my co-host, producer extraordinaire. You know all the things by now if you've been listening. Jody. What's up, Joe?
Not much, man. We're here on a nice Sunday. You know, it'll probably be close to a week before this comes out, unless your boy gets on the grind and releases this one before the other one. But I'm surprised he didn't say anything about me not wearing glasses today, which is kind of shocking. But we're here, and you know, it's a good day. We got some soccer. I'm gonna watch later. That'll be cool. See, hopefully, if the U.S. women's team will pull off a dub versus Brazil, and see what's going on from there.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'm on spring break. So yesterday was the first day of spring break for me. I've got 7 more days to look forward to before I have to go back to school. So I'm trying to take advantage of every second of it.
Does
Think I might
that
go see
mean you're
Dune.
resting? Oh, there you go. Hit the
Think I might go
popcorn
see Dune
bucket.
this week. Yeah. I haven't been to the theaters in a while. I feel like I might go. You know? Why
Yeah,
not?
I feel that. Did you see the first one?
Yeah, I did.
I haven't seen any of them, so I don't know nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the first one was pretty good. A lot of setup, but I think the second one
Yeah,
should be good.
I mean it's been
So
hyped apparently, according to X. Everyone's loving it.
Chalamet, you know?
Yeah,
Zendaya.
Timothy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But let's get to why the people are here. All right. We're talking offensive line today. Very excited to talk about this group because I think there are some legitimate prospects in this class. It's probably the first group that we've talked about that I think all 5 guys we talk about today are first round picks. It's probably the first time we can say that about any of the other 3 previous groups we talked. So I'm excited and ready to get it rolling.
let's go. First guy we're looking at is gonna be Amarius Mims out of Georgia. He's a you just have tackle, but he was playing right tackle there. He was 6'8", 340, played for 3 years. Got 29 games under his belt. Allowed no sacks. Got no hold called on him. So he was in the zone scheme 65% of the time. And was it yards per something? 6.3 yards.
Attempts.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, yards per attempt when they ran behind him. They ran to
That's nice.
his gap. They're getting 6.3 yards per attempt, which is pretty good. So Mims out of Georgia, yeah, he's a guy I really like. I think there's a lot of stuff. Number one that stands out is the fact that he's 6'8", 340 pounds. 6'8".
Big frame.
It's kind of crazy. It feels like we have a few dudes that are that big. Anchor, which means, when guys get into his space and they try and power rush him, attack him with the power, he consistently is balanced, plays with balance base. That makes him really difficult to get around for edge guys. And then so they try and go through him, and you really can't go through him because he anchors so well. So here you go. Some film of it. Here he is against Georgia Tech. Guys you're not going to go through him. You're not going to try and bowl through him. He just stonewalls guys, right? Anybody who tried to bull rush him, you couldn't go around him, so they try and bowl him. They go through him. You can't attack him with power either. All right, Tennessee tried to do it. He put a guy on the ground.
That man's
Like
punch
literally
is
physically
crazy,
lifted a
bro.
man up, put him on the ground. Yeah. I mean, and then you look at the kick slide, makes it so you can't really go around him. So dudes really tried to go through him, and you just can't go through 6'8", 340. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
So there's some clips on here that are pretty funny. Like that's JT Tuimalu from Ohio State, who's a pretty good player, and Amarius Mims makes him look like a toddler. So it's pretty impressive. And then you mix that with the fact that he has really good feet. I said he had
Mhm.
nimble feet for a bigger guy. Moves well enough to run a 4.33 short shuttle at the combine. I believe that's second best. And on film, you can see him moving in space to defenders and or kick sliding on balance and protection. It's really good. So here you go. You see him getting out on screen. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
We get a little rewind, slow-mo it, like boom, putting corners on their back. Get another one here of him just moving his feet, moving defenders in the run game. Once again, that was a gap scheme. Here it is, a little zone. Getting up to the second level. Like I said, just really good feet. Again, on the down block and gap scheme, moving guys. Here he is in zone. Again, good enough feet to pick up the guy coming inside of him. Now he's back out in screen game. Again, getting
Yeah.
out there, moving. So you can see the feet on this guy are nice. And then last but not least, he's very patient in pass pro. I think because he's got such good feet, because he knows he can anchor, he really doesn't have to attack edge rushers, right? He lets them make their move rather than reaching or oversetting. And that patience is often rare to find in college tackles. Some people might say that he needed to be a little more aggressive at times because he is so patient. You ever heard the saying, pass pro isn't passive, right? But I think with his 9 times out of 10, it's a good thing. It's more patience than it is passive. I just love that he's so patient. He lets defenders come to him and then punch. And once he's got you, he's got you. He doesn't, I mean, he's not going to let go at that point. You can just see all these clips, guys trying to spin, move, counter move. It doesn't matter. Like he's got you, right? He waits for you to make that first move and then boom. And even there, that patience
That was
pays off
pretty.
against the, passing off the stunt up front,
Mhm.
the little game that Ohio State was running. And so it's very impressive to see such a young player who has kind of all these tools and puts them all together very well. Reminds me a lot of Jawan Taylor, who now plays for the Chiefs this last year. Now he's a Super Bowl champ, played for the Jaguars prior to that. But you can see as a right tackle, kind of that big frame, but then also the great nimble feet that he has right there going against Chris Jones. Big time stuff. Here it is again, once again, against Chris Jones. Boom, nimble feet. Very, very patient in the pass pro there. Again, strong at the point of attack. He has the ability to anchor when guys try and go through him. That's why the Chiefs gave him a big payday in free agency last year, and it worked out for him, winning a Super Bowl, obviously.
Yeah, speaking of Chris Jones, bro, my guy just got the bag too from the Chiefs, running it back. But
Yes, he did.
the combine numbers for this guy, he ran a 5.07 on his 40. He got 1.78 on his 10-yard split, and then had 25.5-inch vert. Couple things I seen was you talked about his kick step, of course, and his feet and whatnot. Yeah, I said he had good leg drive on his run game. You could see him just keep driving his legs as soon as he got to the backer or whoever else. You know what I mean? And he had good body control. So there's times when people go out for like the screen game, they'll just be like all over the place and like they kind of miss their block. They'll like push him out the way, but they don't really do nothing with it. When he's hooking that corner, he gets to the DB or whoever he's got and just shoves them out the way. They go flying. And yeah, I said he's had strong hands and a good punch. You can kind of see it when he was in the pass pro, and even when he was going out for the screen. Like he's just that strong. He'll just shove you out the way and doesn't mean nothing to him.
Yeah. He's definitely a high ceiling prospect. I mean, right now you look at it, he's projected in the first round somewhere between pick 7 and 25. I think he's an athletic, massive tackle. Given that he played right tackle in college, some people will probably favor some of the other left tackle prospects over him. But I mean, if you look at success from recent draft picks, you're talking about like Tristan Wirfs, Darnell Wright, guys who played right tackle in college, now
Yeah,
have had great success in the NFL. I really don't think you can let the right tackle, left tackle thing sway you away from a guy who's
but,
just he's got this high of a ceiling. So I think that'll help people reconsider. Like I said, his ceiling is as high as those guys, in terms of what he can be as an NFL player.
no doubt.
Especially given some of the, you see it on tape and then you reaffirm it at the combine with some of those numbers. I mean, it's he's a big dude who's agile enough to go play serious
Definitely.
ball at right tackle.
Yeah, moving along. Next guy I want to take a look at is going to be Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. He's 6'8", 322. Also 3 years in college. Got 35 games under his belt. He allowed 6 sacks, and he got 2 holding calls called on him. Let's see. I think that's a little bit higher, yeah. Yeah, 1% higher on his scheme, being the zone scheme as well. And slightly less yards per attempt behind him is 6 instead of the 0.3 above.
Yeah. Alt is probably sort of the consensus, like, this is the guy prospect. And he's 6'8",
Yeah.
322. So similar height to Amarius Mims, a little bit less weight, which, depending on the prospect, can be a good or a bad thing. Everyone's body's a little bit
Yeah.
different. But he, you watch his tape, and I think the thing that I learned that was most impressive when researching and watching Joe Alt was the fact that he was a tight end when he first got to Notre Dame. He really only played left
that was
tackle
news to me.
He really only played left tackle for the last year and a half that he was at Notre Dame, from what it sounds like. So the last 2 years, I should say. And I mean, Notre Dame, kudos to them for moving him there, because clearly that was his home. You look at him, number one, he has great second level blocking in space for a dude who's this big. He at 6'8", showing up, that ability to get blocks on the second level. Since Notre Dame primarily ran zone blocking in 2022, they were more of a gap scheme a little bit when Tommy Rees was there the year before. This last year, because they were more predominantly zone blocking, he had a lot of film where he comboed up to backers. In their gap schemes, he was also pretty good at cutting off backers from getting over the top, on the backside when he had a down block, because of his size and feet. So here you go. It's against Georgia Tech, I believe. I mean, here he is going up to a backer and just sealing it. And that's actually, I believe, Kyron Williams running behind him from a couple years ago. But, running right behind him for a touchdown. Here he is against Notre Dame once again on that left side. Combo up to the backer, Tommy Eichenberg. Sorry, Tommy Eichenberg, you weren't making that play. Once Joe Alt got his hands on him, it just wasn't happening. Man, that was a good block. So he does that stuff really well. But then you also see in the pass game, his blitz and stunt recognition, I thought, was the best of all the guys I watched. He has really good eyes in terms of seeing, what's happening up front, communicating, and then picking up the right guy within their protection or blocking scheme. This one's a run blocking, but they move the front right before the play. He still makes sure he gets to the right guy. And once again, they run right behind him for a touchdown. Here you go. Now he recognizes the blitzer on a run blitz. Same thing. He still seals him off, gives his guy a shot to go score a touchdown. There it is again. You can see it. Boom. Smokes him on the down block. The blitzer try and run a run blitz. Didn't have a chance. Okay, now you go back to the Ohio State game. Here he's in protection. They try and run a late twist. Boom. Comes off of his. Great communication. Allows for a huge play down the field, obviously. And then here we go. One more time. Not only does he pick that one up, ends it with a pancake. Nasty. You love when you see that, for sure. I mean, he takes the guy who's, probably 100 pounds less than he is and just makes him look like a little boy. I mean, that's what you want. And then finally, the guy has elite length, right? He's 6'8", but he has 34-inch arms and he has an 83-inch wingspan. Insane.
Yeah, that's
Insane,
huge.
bro. And that keeps defenders at bay, especially in pass protection. He can use that long frame. He has more of a, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I was watching him, he has more of like a shuffle than he does a true like kick step. And it lets him stay on balance a lot. He's never off balance. So you see here, like this one, he doesn't even really kick step. He just uses his length to attack a guy right away off play action pass. Really good stuff. And then here you go. Again, just that little like hop and shuffle. Two defenders. I think it also kind of gives guys a false key sometimes. Between runner
it kind of
pass
looked like a pass.
Yeah. And on that play, obviously it was run. You see it like he's not really kick stepping. He's just shuffling, but he's so big that he can do that. And it works pretty well for him. I don't think I've seen a lot of guys play that way, but he does, and it works really well. Some Michael Mayer film from last year right there. Here it is again. I think this is against Central Michigan. And again, I mean, he's just dominant at this level. And it's why so many people like him, especially knowing that he's young. He's only 21 years old. He's only played the position for like 2 years. He's a baby. You look at his picture, he looks like a baby. You know what I mean? He still looks like a high school kid in his picture. No offense, Joe Alt. You're a big man. Don't take any of what I'm saying the wrong way. But like the length shows up everywhere, and he's still so young that I think any NFL offensive line coach is going to say, "Oh, I can get my hands on this guy and mold him and make him, an elite franchise left tackle." So reminds me a lot of Trent Brown, who came in the league quite a bit of years ago with the 49ers, then with the Patriots, the Raiders, back to the Patriots. Free agent this offseason. We'll see where he goes. But his journey is similar, just a huge dude with that length and really good blocking in space. Here you go. You see him pass pro. Really good job of recognizing the stunt and flipping off. Now here he is in zone, getting up to second level defenders. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a man that big. Same thing. He has that kind of shuffle.
Arm extension.
See, he doesn't true kick step. He has a shuffle too because he's so big. So they are really similar to me. And what's crazy is Joe Alt is even bigger than Trent Brown.
Dang.
So I think there's a lot of potential there. He's, right now projected to be, a first round pick somewhere in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have the same notes as you, honestly, for the ones I wrote down. You got elite length. I put down he has a crazy arm extension where, like, he'll just keep people away from him. They'll never get, like, up in his pads. I had you put blitz / stunt recognition. I have passing off in the pass pro, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was good at switching with the guard on who they were guarding. But I do think he's not that good in the run game. I don't know. When the first play that I seen from his highlight tape was him getting beat across his face and the running back hit a jump cut to go score, I was like, I don't know if I could trust this guy. But
first impressions are everything.
So I mean, I do think he's really good in the passing game, but I wrote down he's sus in the run game, so who knows? But like you said, he is young, so that is a huge upside for sure. Some combine numbers from the guy. He ran a 5.05 on the 40, 1.73 on that 10-yard split. He had a 28-inch vert. This dude did the most out of everyone, too. Everyone else only did like 2 things. He had a 7.31 on the 3-cone, 4.51 on the 20-yard shuttle, I believe is what that is. And then he did 27 reps on the bench.
Strong dude. Especially when you got those long arms, that's really impressive.
It's tough.
Even more impressive because you got those long arms on bench, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the video of your guy Blake? And they're like,
Blake
same amount as Joe Alt. And then you see the side by side, and he's just like,
And then
Yeah.
Joe
Well,
Alt's
Blake
like,
Corum's got
"Ugh,
that barrel
ugh."
chest with those little arms, bro.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. The extension is where it all is.
It's
It's
crazy,
a
man.
long ways to go.
I think in closing on all his athletic profile as a guy who can run a 5.05 40 and a 4.51 short shuttle with that length and true athleticism makes his ceiling about as high as it can be for a prospect coming out in college. I mean, he's played in zone schemes, he's played in gap schemes, he pass protects at a high level. You can see he has high IQ, and he's still young and getting better every day. So I think that makes him a franchise left tackle. I mean, I think that's his ceiling. That's really what I would expect him to be. And there's a lot of room for growth still.
Yeah, definitely. The next guy we're going to take a look at is going to be, I'm assuming, Taliese. That's what my intuition's
Taliese
telling me.
Taliese
Taliese
Fuaga.
Fuaga out
Yeah.
of Oregon State. He was left tackle, yeah?
He's a right
And
tackle.
right? Oh, shoot. All right, right tackle. He was 6'6", 334. That's 4 years right there. He's got 28 games. Allowed 1 sack with 2 holds called on him. There you go, 84% in the zone, huh? And
Yeah.
then 6.2 yards per attempt behind him.
Yeah. Fuaga, a little bit smaller than the last two guys. But those guys are like at the top of their class in terms of height and length. Fuaga is still a bigger dude compared to most tackles, a
Definitely.
little smaller than the other two guys, but still a massive human. Yes, he's another guy who's a right tackle. And you'll see, on film, he does some really good stuff. Once again, I said it with Mims. I'll say it with Fuaga. I really like this guy despite him being a right tackle. And there's still that you need the left tackle versus the right. I mean, dude, if a guy's a great player at tackle, you can never have too many of those.
Yeah.
So
You're not wrong. Especially at last year, bro, all the linemen everywhere were going down.
Yeah. So Fuaga being a right tackle, number one, he has great combination of long arms, strong punch. Some guys, they have that long arm, but the punch isn't very strong. Like they're not getting a lot of force behind the punch. His is like impressive for how much power he packs behind his punch with the length. At times, he even punched with like one arm in pass protection, and it almost looked like, when like you have your older brother and you're like the little kid, and older brother's like
You're
keeping the
holding
kid
them
at bay,
away and
but
you're
just
trying to
holding the
punch him?
head. Yes, sometimes that's what it looked like he was doing. Like
Yeah.
he had this one arm punch thing that I thought was really unique.
I wrote that down as well.
It threw defenders off. Like, here you go.
Single
You can
arm
kind of see it
extension is
right
what I
there.
have.
I mean, again, the one arm kind of, I'll go with one first. You're not going to knock me off balance. I saved the second one. Here it is again. He almost never, he keeps it there, but he's still knocking the guy off his spot with his one hand already extended and just punching him. It's really impressive. I don't think I've ever seen a guy kind of live that way. And he did it all the time at Oregon State. Here he is against Latu from UCLA, a guy we really like, and playing really well against the guy. Again, super athletic, great punch, still a very big guy, even though he's maybe a couple inches shorter than the other two guys we just talked about. But again, you can't get around him, right? So the punch was elite. He's also, we talked about it, you mentioned 84% zone in his career. Oregon State was zone heavy, but he excelled in it. Allowed him to use his lateral speed, his big frame, and he has this like mauling mentality on contact. You'll see it here. This one's pretty. This poor linebacker from Washington State. And then he does the double pancake where he puts the guy on his butt and then finishes him.
He stays there.
Yeah, I love that. Here he is again. Again, he's kind of big boying Latu right here, throwing him out of the club a little bit. And we liked the way Latu set edges.
He said throwing him out the club.
I mean, look at him in all this zone blocking that they're doing. He's crazy athletic for being 334. Gosh, I mean, all these guys are, though. That's the crazy thing. I feel like I'm going to repeat myself a lot today, and I'm sorry about it. But all these guys, it's a special class. I'm telling you, it's a special group of offensive linemen because they're all extreme athletes. Fuaga being one of them. I mean, look what he's doing right here. He's getting out on the edge and taking corners and just throwing them to the ground. I loved it. So he's going to be, whoever drafts him, I hope they're running zone because that's what he's going to kill it in a zone heavy scheme. And then last but not least, he's got this smooth kick step, man. It looks like he's gliding when he gets back. He never oversets. He stays on balance. His framing and strength do the work for him because he's so smooth in that kick step. Here you go. Guys trying to come back. He's got that lateral movement to go pop, pop, mirror. There it is again against Oregon. I mean, just really, gosh, I was so impressed. I can't tell you how impressed I was with this group as a whole. I think I said it last week when we talked about the D-line play. Thought that group was the deepest. I think this O-line group is probably the most talented at the top with depth behind it too. I think, like I said, you got 5 surefire first-round picks to me. Fuaga, you put all that together, the punch, the zone blocking, the smooth kick step, the size. He reminds me of Rob Havenstein, the right tackle for the Rams. Here you go. Here's some film from that famous Rams-Chiefs Monday Night Football game. He gets out on the perimeter, just balling, pancaking guys. But then some more recent film of this year, him in pass pro, again, smooth glide, right? Great punch. He's a really good zone blocker as well. With the Rams, he's made his money there with McVay. They run so much zone blocking. And then here you go, him passing off defenders, really good at that as well. So reminds me a lot of the veteran Rob Havenstein. Can have a very similar career, in my opinion. What do you see, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I have pretty much the same exact things. Again, I had talked about his single arm extension, which you highlighted off rip, where he kind of just hits the shoulder, turns their body, and then he takes a dub on the pass pro. I said he's really good at finding the backer and or work. We seen him when he's getting up to level 2 or going out on the edge to get the DB when he's hitting the pool. And I have the last thing, the smooth kick step. I have him keeping defenders in front. I talked about it. I wrote down shuffle step. Kind of same thing when you talked about the mirror, where he's going one way, comes back the other way, never really losing depth on where he's at.
Very smooth.
And then his numbers from the combine, he ran a 5.13 in the 40, 1.77 in the 10-yard split, and then 32-inch vert.
That vert is impressive. Those other guys were right around 25, 26, 28. I think their first one in the 30s that we talked about.
Definitely, yeah. No, and all the 10-yard splits were basically 1.7 something as well. I believe it was like 1.75 was like the big number where there was just all the dudes that they had at the combine were in that 10.
Yeah. So in closing on Fuaga, I mean, like Mims, he's a right tackle prospect. I mentioned this, but I think his athleticism combined with the mentality to finish blocks makes him a great fit for a team that likes to run specifically zone blocking schemes and play action pass. I think, his traits also make him obviously an efficient pass protector. All that is a recipe to me for a star right tackle in the NFL, guy who's going to hang around for a long time, have a 10+ year career. Very similar to Rob Havenstein. I don't know that many would consider Rob Havenstein a star, but the guy's been with the Rams for 10+ years. He's won a Super Bowl. He's done a really good job. I mean, he's been a Pro Bowler before. I mean, so you're talking about a guy who's going to hang around for a very long time and have a good career. And that's what I see for Taliese Fuaga.
Next guy we're going to take a look at is going to be a center out of Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson. He's 6'3", 320. Played for 3 years there, 32 games in that time. We got no sacks and no holds. 51% in the zone. Third, they got a nice split, I guess, right there, 51-49. And then they get 6.3 yards running behind them.
Yeah. I'm about to go in on Jackson Powers Johnson, okay? So stick with me here. He's like there aren't very many centers that come out that people are like, oh, he's a first rounder, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a, there's the premier positions, right? It's quarterback, it's left tackle, it's receiver, it's edge rusher, it's corner. Those are kind of those 5 premier positions, right? And some of the other spots like guard and center and safety, whatever, maybe aren't talked about as much. And you have to be truly special and elite to get drafted in the first round coming from one of those positions.
Very true.
Jackson Powers Johnson is one of those guys. You got to take him seriously as a first round pick. Number one, his combo blocking was unreal. You see a lot of tape from him where he bumps that, he's got that hitch and bump the first level defender off their spot on his way to the backer, and then he still goes up and gets the backer, right? So here you go.
Yeah.
Wearing those beautiful Oregon throwback unis against Washington State. Watch him. By the way, shout out to our guy, Steve Jones at right guard here. Another NFL prospect this year, probably is a late round pick, maybe an undrafted free agent. We're rooting for you, Steve. All right. Watch JPJ. Let's run that one back. Bumps the defender, the D tackle to the ground with that shoulder and still goes up to get the backer. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Bumps the guy off his spot.
On the opposite way.
Yeah, and then still seals off on the backer. I mean, that's really tough to do for a center, and he's very good at it. I mean, let's just run this one more time. He puts the guy on the ground. Look at all the power just with that little flipper. He just gives him the flipper, puts the guy on the ground. He puts a grown man who's probably weighing in excess of 300 pounds on the ground. Come on now. That's impressive. And then his agility coming off to the second level defender is equally as impressive. Next, you see really athletic for a center. More athleticism than you would expect. His ability to block out in space is both impressive, and it was very important for Oregon because you saw they had a really diverse offense. They were zone, gap, scheme, right? They were basically 50-50 even. They were RPO. They were perimeter screen game. They were doing all of it. I mean, their offense was really diverse, and he was a big part of why they could get away with all that. So you watch here, they're going to run like a little reverse and watch him he gets lost, but then he's like, okay, I'm going to get out and lead up on the reverse. And
just goes in body.
No one's film made me laugh more than JPJ's. Like, he's just putting dudes on the ground out in space, just tagging. You could tell he gets so excited when he goes out there and he sees a little DB in front of him, and he's like, oh, I am running through your face, and I'm going to put you into the dirt.
Yeah.
And man, is there anything more that you would want from your offensive lineman out in space than that? Gosh, I love it. It's freaking awesome.
Go and body him.
Yeah. And then last but not least, attitude, man. He finishes plays. And I love that from a center. And it's just an offensive lineman in general. If you see an offensive lineman on film and you're kind of like, hey, I can visually see that you're kind of a jerk, it's one of the best things that you could have. If I can visually see that you are putting people in the dirt and then talking crap to them as you get up, then I know that you're my guy, right? So here he is against Texas Tech this last year, and he's going to finish this guy. Okay, now here we go against Utah, out in space once again. Drive.
Yeah.
Pancake, and I love it. I love the finishing.
I remember there was one play where the ref pulled up on him and be like, "Hey, chill, bro."
Yeah. Here he is again.
It's this one right here.
That's
it. This one.
That's it right there. I think this is against BYU. I mean, just he's an animal, man, and I love it. So he does a lot of things really well, and this might be sacrilegious. I said the same thing when I compared Brock Bowers to Travis Kelce, but I'm going to compare Jackson Powers Johnson to Jason Kelce.
Look, it crossed my mind as well, so I don't think you're crazy. It was just in the time I was like, I don't know many other ones besides Jensen, but this dude literally looks like Jason Kelce. Even with the arm sleeve and everything, the elbow pad thing, I was like, he literally just looks like him.
He does. It does. And there's a lot of similarities in terms of the athletic profile. Here you go. Jason Kelsey getting out on screen, right? This is the thing that we just saw, and putting bodies on the floor in space. That's why I think they're so comparable, because that athletic ability as a center is what made Jason Kelsey so different. That's what I think you're getting with Jackson Powers Johnson. That's why he's one of my favorite prospects on this O-line group, because I think he can anchor an offensive line for years, with the traits that he has. But I've done my lovey-dovey session on the guy. What do you have on him?
Yeah, so similarly, what I've already said is where we got pretty much the same things written down. For him, I said he had fluidity on the line. I think with that one, I meant like just being able to get off the ball and get to his spot to get the block off on that. And I said he had awareness similar in that same line, where if like they would hit a stunt or he was passing off the dude to in the pass pro, same thing, just being aware of everything. I mean, you kind of have to be in the center. You got to call all the schemes out where the backers are and whatnot. He was really powerful. I mean, clearly we saw him bulldoze like 4 different defenders, just having the time of his life. You said his attitude, I wrote down he plays till the whistle goes, which is kind of what you're supposed to do anyways, but he'll take it that extra step, make sure people feel his presence. And then there was one thing that you didn't highlight that I had, where in his pass pro he does like hand fighting, where he'll grab the dude's hand with one of his hands while getting the other one up on his chest, and they don't really know what to do because they're useless with one of their arms, which was really interesting to see. And in his combine stuff, he only did the vertical and the bench, I guess. So he had 32-inch vert and then 30 reps on the bench.
Yeah, that checks out. That's about right. That seems like exactly what I would have guessed. Yeah, man, I think he looks to be, like I said, the kind of rare center prospect that has to be taken seriously as a first-round talent.
Yeah,
His ability to play in gap schemes, zone schemes, play in space on the perimeter, as well as, like you mentioned, pass protecting efficiently. I think that makes him, all that together makes him elite. He has the potential to anchor an offensive line for 10 plus years, as the guy who we compared him to, Jason Kelsey, just finished doing. If I'm the Eagles and the guys around, you might just consider, if that's, he may not be there. I mean, I'm seeing him mocked somewhere between pick 16 and 31. He may not be there for the Eagles to take him, but if they could get it in
20s,
they would be somewhere
like 22 or something.
Yeah, somewhere around there, because they lost in the wild card round. So yeah, I can't remember what pick they have, 22, 23, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be that. I mean, if they have the opportunity, I think that would be a great team for him to go to, because he can mimic so much of what Kelsey did.
Yeah.
So I think they would, that'd be a team that would love to have that guy.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of other
Dogs
teams
right
that would like him too.
Lastly, on the docket for today, we're looking at Olu Fashanu. Now, before I continue, his real name, or his full name, I should say, is Olumuyiwa. I'm sorry, I butchered that, probably, most likely 9 times out of 10. But when I seen his combine numbers, I didn't know that was him, because he only wrote down Olu. So I was like,
well, there's a reason I went with Olu Fashanu.
Yeah, no, I get you. Trust me. But when I seen it, I was like, oh. I was like, that's him. That's the dude that we were just watching. And even the highlight tape said just Olu, so it's all understandable. But his name is definitely a lot longer, for sure. He played tackle. He sits at 6'6", 317. Played for 4 years. Got 24 games in that time. Allowed 1 sack. Got called for a hold 3 times. Penn State looked like they ran zone scheme 72% of the time, and then they averaged 5 yards running behind them.
Yeah, Fashanu from Penn State. I think he was kind of a late bloomer. As you can see, he only played 24 games in 4 years, and so he played a lot more his last 2 seasons. First couple years, he kind of, I think he took a red shirt, and then he didn't play as much as a redshirt freshman. But he came on the last couple years, especially this last year, and showed what he could do, and what he can do is pretty special. So, number one, his lateral movement. Look no further than the Michigan game last year. He's playing against some elite guys up front. We know what they were able to do last year and this year. But here you go. He has some of the best feet and movement of any O-line prospect in the draft. He sets really well. He's great reaction skills, can mirror pass rushers extremely well. He stays in phase in the protection. So here you go. Again, great job moving his feet, staying. I mean, that's all you can ask for, right? Here he is again. Oh, he identifies the
Working down
stunt
the
coming
line.
from back around.
Yeah, that was nice.
Moves his feet to get to it. Again, moving your feet. Hey, defender gives your back to you. Take it. Again, recognizing the stunt, moving his feet to adjust to it. Really, really good stuff. I mean, his feet, man, were really impressive to me on film. That lateral movement, that skill is an impressive one for a guy who's, as big as he is.
One thing I liked for his
Then
pass pro right there was his pad level. So I'm sure you'll see more right here too, where when he gets out of his stance, the only thing that really moves is his head. He's not jumping up hella high. Like he's just very fluid with that motion.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because there's a lot of guys who are waist benders, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to kind of stand up and then bend at the waist. And it's a really bad habit, and that's what gets you beat. He has really flexible hips, so it means he doesn't bend at the weights. He's one of the rare guys who has that flexibility, so he's not a waist bender, and that's part of why his pass pro tape is so good. Here he is again against Michigan and Mike Morris. Boom. He stays upright, right? He does not bend at that waist. He lets his hips keep him square and low. Again, same thing. Guys trying to reach for the ball. He protects against Ohio State. And all this tape is Ohio State, Michigan. Those are the two best teams they play. And
that's
it's
the first
all
thing
good
I noticed.
stuff.
I was like, why is this all Michigan? Like, I was like, is this just like the single game? I had to double check. I was like, I'm pretty sure this ain't.
And then last but not least, he's got this ability to absorb blows from guys who are power rushing. Guys, they quickly learn, college pass rushers quickly learn they could not go around him because his feet are too good. His flexibility and his hips are too good. So instead, they started trying to go through him, and his base is so good that he anchored down and just absorbed bull rushers without losing ground. Here you go. Once again against Mike Morris. Has a pretty good day here against Michigan. The tape is awesome for him. Again, boom. You're not going to go through him either. I mean,
no doubt.
You can't go around him. You can't go through him. What are you doing as a pass rusher? There's not much you can do.
I wrote down
all
he
these
had
different
good balance
guys.
basically for this same exact topic where if like there's times people will get a nice hit on him, but he instantly regains his composure and doesn't move.
You see how
anything.
he absorbed that and he's kept his ground.
Yeah.
Just very impressive. Like even if that initial, hey, it shocks him, he regains. That's another good one where they drive him for a step, but he has the ability to and bow up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He does that really well. Reminds me a lot of Teron Armstead, who now plays for the Dolphins, played with the Saints for a long time. Here you go. Here he's against Myles Garrett. Same thing. That ability to kind of absorb that shock. Great feet in protection. The lateral movement is fantastic. The hip flexibility is great. Even when Myles Garrett kind of knocked him down there, he kept him off his quarterback.
Yeah, true.
He has the ability to move with the spin move, all that good stuff. Reminds me a lot, almost exactly of Teron Armstead. That's who I saw instantly when I was watching this guy. They look so similar. Even the measurables are pretty similar. So, but yeah, he's projected to go in the first round somewhere between picks 5 and 19. He's right there for a lot of people with Joe Alt as the top left tackle prospect in the drafts, and obviously that being a premier position, he's going to go possibly in that top 10, worst case scenario in the top 20.
Yeah, that's huge for the guy. For the only other thing I didn't really talk about during the time was his pocket presence, which we saw in those first clips where I talked about his vision, I guess I should say. I wrote down pocket presence for that. But you every time they had a stunt coming deep, he would pick it up, just shuffle down the line, stayed in his spot. picked up what he needed. And then I don't think we've seen any of the clips of this, but he was good at turning shoulders. So like he'd be able to get people to just go where he needed to. Like in the run game, I guess that's mainly where that comes from, which is we didn't really look at, but that's one thing if you go check his tape that I saw. And then his combine numbers, he had a 177 on his 10-yard split, 5.11 on the 40 with a 32-inch vert.
Yeah, he's a dog, man. 32-inch vert is freaking impressive. I think he is already like the classic blindside protecting left tackle. His pass pro production
I agree with that.
is borderline elite already. That's why I like him so much. I think the team that drafts him, he's going to be great as a pass blocker early and throughout his career. And then I think he'll get better in the run game. We didn't talk about his blocking in the run game as much. I think that's where, if you're going to say he needs work, that's where he probably needs more work. But man, if we're drafting a left tackle who we're saying, hey, he's going to shut down edge rushers and we'll work on the run game, like we're probably okay with that, you know? And so I think that's what you're getting is a blindside protector who's going to get better. And he's going to get better in the run game as his career goes. I think he's going to end up being another one of those franchise left tackles, a lot like Joe Alt. I think both of them are like can't miss guys. I just think you're getting really good players either way. And quite frankly, all five of these guys, I think I said they're first round picks. They're all really good prospects. Any one of these five guys in a different draft probably could have been the best guy coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how good I think all five of these guys are. I really like all of them. And I think we're going to see a run on O-line in the first round for sure. But let's rank these guys because this is the hard part. So I'm curious to see what you have, Joe.
All right. So for me, the first guy I liked was going to be Amarius Mims. I mean, I don't know. The way you put it to me, I think that he was, considering he's the right tackle, which is kind of tough for most spots because you kind of get like look differently being on the right side. But I think with the skill set that he has, being more athletic than most people, and the film speaks for itself. He was dogging dudes on that right side. You know what I mean? I loved it. That spoke to me. Jackson Powers Johnson's gonna be the next dude I have. I mean, similar things like the run game, especially that alone is film that I love to watch, and then the things doing in the pass pro as well. Not to mention, he just has that like underdog mentality, similar to Jason Kelsey, where you're always gonna play with that chip on your shoulder, and it's never gonna that fight is never gonna quit in you. Next dude, I have Olu Fashanu, the last dude we just seen right now. I like his pass pro for sure. Obviously, we highlighted plenty of the good things he was doing there. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was slightly better than Joe Alt in the run game, so that's why I have him at 4. Like I said, the first play up for Joe Alt, it kind of put me off already. Considering when I typed in Joe Alt highlights, everything said like, "Oh, number 1 prospect." Oh, like next like franchise left tackle or whatever you want, whatever like clickbaity title you want to put on there. He had plenty of those. And so I think those two things alone were like, I don't see what these people are seeing. And then the last guy I have is Taliese Fuaga. I think the difference with him was he like I said, the one thing I liked about Amarius Mims being his mentality on the right side, I think Taliese gets the downfall for him where he was doing good things, but is it going to translate because this is the right tackle? You know what I mean, I don't know. On one side, I think the one dude killed it there, and the other dude, it's like it might hinder him. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's me being weird, but that's how I see it.
Well, I mean, I think you have to split hairs with these guys. Like I said, I think any given draft, any of these guys could have been the top prospects, and that's not even including some of the other guys we have not talked about that just missed the list, which I'll get to in a second. But like for me, number 1 is Joe Alt because I think he's going to keep getting better. I think he's played left tackle for 2 years. He's 21 years old. He still looks like a baby, and yet he's got traits that you just You don't see a lot of guys coming out with these kind of traits. Like, last year we had Paris Johnson. I think Paris Johnson Jr. last year was the only guy that compares with any of these 5 guys to me. Like, I think all 5 of these guys are better than anyone else coming out last year besides Paris Johnson Jr. That's about it. And we had some really good players come out last year. Like DeJuan Jones had a really good year. So obviously Paris Johnson Jr. had a really good year. So I think you consider all that, and I think Joe Alt is right there with Paris Johnson in terms of what he's going to be able to bring even as a rookie. Olu Fashanu right there behind him. We're obviously kind of split on those two because you think Fashanu is a better run game blocker. I think Alt is a better run game blocker right now. I think they're both elite pass protectors. I think we both agree there that they're elite in that trait, and they're going to be really good right away at that stuff. And again, if we're talking about, hey, we want you to be a little bit more of a road grader in the run game, it's at left tackle. If you're going to be deficient somewhere or needs work to improve on, that kind of thing, I'd rather be in the run game than as a pass pro guy in this version of the NFL. Okay, then at third, Jackson Powers Johnson. I tinkered with, like, is he 1 or 2? I mean, I really did. Because those other 2 are left tackles.
It's hard to compare him to everyone else. Just simply being the center, like the amount of knowledge they need alone, it separates him from everyone else. Not to mention the way he plays too.
You figure I'm comparing him to a future Hall of Famer. He's got to at least be 3 here because I really do think he's that good. And then Amarius Mims and Taliese Fuaga. Those guys are both right tackles, and they made it on this list, this top 5 over some of the other left tackle prospects. And the reason being, I just think he is, both of them, Amarius Mims, I'll start with, just his ability to anchor and at the size and the feet, everything that he's able to do. So impressive. And I think he's going to be one of the better right tackles. I think the same thing about Fuaga. I think he's another guy that hangs around the league for 10 plus years as a right tackle. So I love all 5 of those guys. I think they're all first round picks. I mentioned, there's some guys who missed out on the list that we didn't cover today, but I think are very good as well. J.C. Latham from Alabama, Troy Fontenot from Washington. He could be possibly a guard or a tackle, depending on who you ask. I think he's athletic enough he can play tackle, but some people may see him as a guard. And then Tyler Guyton, a tackle from Oklahoma. Both of those guys, all 3 of those guys are possibly also first round picks. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about them today.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
I mean, you could see 8 offensive linemen go in round 1. I don't think that would be, incorrect or somehow a reach. I mean, I think all 8 of those guys are very, very good players. So it's going to be, it's funny, as the more we get into this draft, the more I think, man, there's going to be some value in round 2 because, we're starting to get to, I talked about how deep the D-line class was. I like them. How deep this O-line class is. I like them. We're going to talk about receivers next. That group is 12 to 15 deep with just really good players. So you're going to start seeing, I think, round 2, man, people are going to get some really productive players because you can't draft all these guys in round 1.
Yeah, I mean, even looking ahead too deeper, like QBs alone is pretty deep too, and everyone right now is on the hunt for one. So, yeah, it's just gonna get deeper and deeper in the I don't know, not comparisons, but like it's gonna be splitting hairs, like you always say. All the differences, little nuances that you think is valuable.
And it'll be scheme stuff. Like I could see a team, if you want to be super duper zone heavy, and you're a run first team. I don't know. You're like I could see the Rams drafting Fuaga, even if Mims is there. Even though I kind of like Mims better, maybe Fuaga fits the scheme better. So that's another part of it you have to take into account with all these guys. Is scheme fits too, and which guy is going to be better for that team, even though you might like the talent of another player better, who fits in what we do. So just because one guy gets drafted ahead of the other in this upcoming draft, once again, it's not necessarily saying this guy's better than that guy. It might be this guy's better here in this specific place than that guy would be.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that too. I mean, that's what will make the draft so interesting is you do have a lot of these guys that you are splitting hairs on. So now it's team fit, right? It's personalities. It's all the other stuff.
Well, well, we're coming back with another one. Hopefully, I could get you guys this one released prior to the second one that we're having the wide receivers later this week. If not, I mean, I'm gonna try to get them both by Friday for sure.
Double
If not,
duty.
if not this one between like Wednesday, Thursday, one on Friday, and it's gonna be a time we have our first guest coming up on the receiver. It's gonna be our guy Mitch. He played quarterback with my brother high school, pretty much his whole life, to be honest, until they went to college. And so we'll see his perspective on different route runners and whatnot. And we got a couple Texas dudes on there, so we'll see what he has to say about them.
I was just gonna say, man, like Texas is thick in this draft. You can see why they made the playoff, huh?
That is true, yeah.
They got guys in like every position group, it feels like.
Yeah, I think this is the
So,
first time we haven't highlighted one so far.
yeah, it's crazy. I'm excited to chop it with Mitch about receivers, though. Excited to have him on.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll just get him prepared for that with the Discord. Hopefully he already has one. If not, I got to run through that process with them. But like I said, till the next time.
Get him right, Joe.
Ray taking us out.